And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus on this Tuesday. It's a hot one out there. Temperatures hugging 90 degrees. And we're on our way up into the mid to upper 90s across the area. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with our Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. And we continue with this stretch of hot weather, Bridgette, and I don't see much change coming, at least not this week.
Of having some unfortunate bad news for a lot of crop out there that's really hoping we see more rainfall.
Yeah, and even when we cool down next week, unfortunately, I'm worried that this heat ridge is going to back up far enough west where we're not going to see much rain out of it. If it backs up just a little bit and we get in that northwest flow, we'll see those ridge riders is what we call them, and we'll get some rain out of it. But if this heat ridge backs up too far west, that would push all the rain west of us as well and down to the south. So we'll see how that pans out. That pattern change isn't coming until next week, and until then we do have some hot weather. In fact, our record, and we'll go over that later, but we could go down in the record books with this stretch of hot weather if we can continue this into the upcoming weekend. And as long as we're hot, we might as well put it in the record book somehow. But we're looking at extreme heat warnings from Grand Forks southward today. That does include the FM area, as we're expecting highs in the upper 90s and heat index readings around 105 or higher, with winds turning to the north as a weak front moves through the area. And winds not as strong today, only about 10 to 15. Then tonight, clear skies, upper 60s. And for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, look for highs in the mid-90s. It looks like now we're going to stay in the low 90s through the weekend, but I do see relief next week. Highs back into the low 80s by Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. So that'll give us a little relief, but unfortunately, I'm not seeing a whole lot of rain. We eventually will get into that northwest flow pattern where we do see the rain, and it should be sometime next week, but the timing on that's a little questionable from this far out.
If you look at the U.S. Drought Monitor at this point, you're starting to see an expanding area of yellow. Yellow stands for abnormally dry. So it doesn't put us necessarily in a drought situation in most of North Dakota. There is a bubble on the eastern side of North Dakota up along the Red River that looks like it constitutes a big chunk of Cass as well as Trail County. For those of us who live in that area, yeah, I can tell you that I see it. Yesterday, driving along County Road 26 in northern Cass County, a lot of the corn, now granted, it was 100 degrees and a 25-mile-an-hour wind, but you can see that greenish gray color. You can see the corn leaves rolling up, so they look like pineapple leaves. We call it pineappling, of course, in corn. And you can just see the drought stress happening on those plants. Soybeans, they looked okay. I did not go down and walk into the fields. Really, of the crop that I saw, best looking right now is sunflower, as they are tapping down with that great big root structure and doing the best job of getting after good moisture. We had a lot of flowering canola in the neighborhood in the last 10 days. This heat is not great at that point in time. And we have wheat that is certainly headed out. We like to see a little stress on the wheat at heading time. It does add to our overall protein. Downside is too much heat, and now we have a lack of kernel fill in the head, and which will reduce our yield overall at harvest. So we're going to see where this all shakes out. As you move to the Missouri River on the drought map, following the river basically through that western chunk of the state, you're also still in yellow for abnormally dry, and then you take it one step up, bordering South Dakota up along the Montana border, and that's at a moderate drought. That top really northeast corner of North Dakota, probably Williams, maybe even Divide County, does not show drought. Those guys got a lot of rain in June, to the point that they could not get in fields by ground when they needed to do some spray applications for weed control and fungicide. And they actually had to put the call out to get some folks with drones to come on up there. Aerial pilots are quite busy trying to keep up with a lot of things that were happening as well. So we're going to see where that leads for our crop right now. We're sort of triaging things on a field by field basis. If you are one rainstorm away from a drought or flood, and we've got situations happening in both directions in the area. If you are in those and you're curious and want to ask questions or share information, reach us on the JLA Insurance phone line, 701-293-9000. Watch us on the Lighthouse Commodities live stream. That's over on Acres TV, Facebook, and YouTube. And We welcome your emails, weather at flagfamily.com or ag at flagfamily.com. We are incredibly happy to take those calls and work with you. Also, want to announce that as we move through Project Safe Send in North Dakota this week, this is indeed a time to get rid of unwanted pesticides, whether you're a homeowner, business owner, and certainly as those who farm. Today, being Tuesday, July 14th, this took place in Rugby. Tomorrow, you have 2 more chances this week. Tomorrow in Devils Lake, Thursday in Larimore, 8 a.m. to noon. This will be at North Dakota DOT sites across the state. Again, Devils Lake and Larimore are the last 2 up that you can certainly go and take those items to. No paints, no fuels, no fertilizer. This is just to get rid of unusable pesticides. Even those things that maybe you have that old dried out bag of 7 that you were dusting potatoes with in the garden once upon a time, get it out of there. Clean it out of the garden shed and get rid of it. If you have large quantities, call ahead. All right. Busy week here, as always. Guests that will be joining us throughout the week. Today on the auction block, we'll have Max Steffes of the Steffes Group. Also later today, we are going to be joined by a young woman I met during Ag Tech Week, Connie Bowen. She is the founder at Farmhand Ventures. What's that? Well, we're going to ask Connie when she joins us after 1:30. Seems like the best way to do it is just ask at the source, right? Find out what information she has and share that with others. Also wanted to make sure to highlight, after talking with Senior Vice President of Ag Banking over at Bell Bank, we had Lynn Paulson join us yesterday. If you haven't had a chance to register for their event coming up next Monday on July 20th, please do. That is the Ag Views Live Seminar, and it's certainly worth your time. I think I got a whole table full of people coming with me because I've touted this as one of the best ways that comes right to us. We don't have to go seek out the speakers. We'll have Lynn Paulson and Professor Emeritus Dr. David Cole from Virginia Tech sharing what's going on a geopolitical scale around the world that affects us not only in agriculture, but energy and other arenas as well. So certainly worth your time to be a part of that. Barley, one of those crops I did not mention earlier, but yet barley would be something on the top of mind when you want a cold beer at the end of the day. Because remember, no barley, no beer. And barley has changed here in the state of North Dakota. Once upon a time, we raised 3.5 million acres of barley annually. That was about 40 years ago. Today, we only raise about 3 million acres of barley all across the U.S. It's changed that dramatically. Some of that is just due to price fluctuations. If you talk to the folks with Anheuser-Busch and other areas, you will find that there's been a significant change in the amount of beer drinkers. I don't know who these college kids are that are drinking, like seltzers and dark liquors like bourbons and whiskeys. I didn't have that kind of cash in college, so I learned how to drink beer.
And it was cheaper back then, too.
It was way cheaper. My husband talks about having these like wax cases that beer came in that you could build furniture out of. I mean, it was economical, right? It's better than IKEA. So now that we don't have as much barley because we have less beer drinkers, where's the barley going? North Dakota's always been ranked very high, top 1 or 2 of states that has raised barley. It's going to pet food. Your dogs are eating better than most of us. I mean, honestly, we had farm dogs that I saw them not only kill the skunk, eat the skunk, and roll in the dead skunk. They weren't worried about foo-foo dog food. And I realize there's a whole lot of pet owners out there that are going to give me some hate on this. But dogs, well, they're eating better than they ever did. Maybe that's good, but I've seen the other. And one of those ingredients in that better dog food, barley. There are still requirements. You're not just using the cheap feed barley in some cases. You'll have contracts for the barley. It has to meet specifications. You want to make sure that there is low protein, no dawn, no vomitoxin, no sprouting, mold, etc. So it's not just putting cheap barley in, it's getting better and better. I've seen some of that dog food. Pretty sure that was better than what I might have seen in a cafeteria line in my college career as well. But again,
yeah, I don't think you're going to eat it, though, are you?
I'm not. I mean, I'm a pretty good cook.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I don't need to worry about the foo-foo dog food on a plate.
Good deal.
Just saying. All right. Speaking of dogs, that leads to livestock. And next up is the livestock report from the American Ag Network. And then, again, we will be joined by Max Steffes for On the Auction Block. great questions for him, well, feel free to call us, 701-293-9000, the JLA Insurance phone line.
All right. Well, we've got Max coming up here in just a bit, but first we've got Terry on line one. Terry's got a comment about the barley and dog food.
Well, it's dog food in particular. I feed my dog a dry. It's chicken and rice, and then I get the wet cans, and I'll put a little on there for him, and I put his wet food in a to-go container that I keep in the fridge, and I just take it out kind of whenever. Well, apparently at one point I didn't know what it was, so I go in there with a spoon, and I take a mouthful of this stuff, and I'm like, "Oh my God, it's dog food!" And it tastes just like, that was the stupidest thing I ever did.
Was it good?
Yeah, Terry, how was it though?
It tastes just like liver.
Oh,
so we know what part of the chicken. We know what part of the chicken is in there. Yeah.
Terry, God bless you for being willing to share that story. That's awesome. Thank you.
I'll tell you, my wife, I told her that, and she goes, I'm not even that dumb.
Oh, Terry, awesome.
Oh,
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks,
Okay,
Terry.
you guys have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Thanks.
Oh man. Now that sounds like something like some dare we'd have in college, but to
really does.
To accidentally do it? No.
Yeah.
Dog food is
Oh,
interesting.
this-
So just an auction story for you guys. So we sold Pipeline Foods, and Pipeline Foods was an organic, basically grain handling company, and they had a location in Moorhead, Bow Bells, and one in Iowa. Anyway, we sold their portfolio. They ran out of money. And what I learned from selling that facility was that a lot of the pet food guys, so I think like Anchor Ingredients does a lot of the pet ingredient stuff.
Yes.
The regulations associated with the pet grade stuff is actually more stringent than the human consumption grade stuff, and that really blew my mind. And
Wow.
yeah, the thresholds, I guess, in terms of where they start docking and stuff are higher in the pet side because it's FDA versus USDA, I guess, whereas human is FDA.
Interesting.
Yeah, it really was.
Wow.
Yep.
Hmm.
There are so many things that we can learn in the food chain system, but they're not nearly as exciting as what's going on in the auction business. So, all right, Max, as you mentioned, you've sold some pretty interesting things. And I had asked you this question that now you've had a little time to think about it in advance. Have you ever sold something that's an agritourism site? I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me is pumpkin patches, corn mazes, but there's even bigger opportunities than that. Does anything like that come across the auction block for Steffes Group?
I'm sure we've had something along the lines. In my 14 years, the closest thing I can think to that would be a wedding venue in Iowa. And that was rural in nature, but it wasn't necessarily an ag tourism thing. A lot of those are new within the last decade. But, one thing, like we were trading emails, Bridgette, I know that we would find a way to market whatever it is that we're selling. And at the end of the day, as auctioneers, we're merchandisers, we're marketers. And, in terms of what I do every day, I'm always asking myself, what are we selling from a layman's perspective, whether it's a tractor, quarter, land? Who are we going to get to buy it? So what's the buyer profile? Is it the local farmer? Is it some guy in New York? Is it a small business owner in Fargo? And then the third question, how are we going to get in front of them? And between our representatives and our marketing team, we try to solve those three questions and deploy marketing that's targeted towards those people that we think are going to buy whatever it is we're selling. So whether it's a ag tourism center or a wedding venue or quarter of land, we figure it out pretty quick.
That was one thing that when you mentioned the marketing of it, how do you find a market for something very unique? Now, even when you said you sold the ingredients business, the pet foods, how do you find that market? Is there some sort of existing research that you can do, or you're just hoping to rely on the network that you have, which is very extensive?
Yeah, all of the above. So, when it comes to unique items, the best properties for auction or the best assets for auction are ones where there's lots of buyers or no buyers. Because the no buyers part, hopefully through auction marketing and advertising, you're going to find somebody. And sometimes you have a profile of that person. You don't necessarily know who you're going to call tomorrow to get to buy whatever it is that you're selling, but you can try to draw somebody in that way. And I think back to the Pipeline Foods, we're taking a look at each and every asset that we're selling. And in that case, it was a grain handling facility. So we're looking regionally at all the other grain handling companies. We're marketing to them through direct mail, phone calls, what have you. And then we're looking nationally to maybe some specialty commodity groups that are looking to do pet food or rice powder or who knows what, depending on the way the asset is and what's there.
I think the bottom line here is it goes to show once again that at Steffes Group, if someone was going to call to work with you, you will have done your homework. And if it's new, you will do the homework in order to be ready for that opportunity.
More importantly, we're not afraid to say, I don't know, but we can figure it out and ask the right questions and engage the right people. And that's all about what it is in terms of what we do with the team environment and getting the right people, subject matter expertise involved that know what it is that we're talking about. Because that first question, what are we selling? You got to understand that if you're going to sell something, whether you're selling corn or whether you're selling tractors, you got to know what it is that you're selling.
Max, what's the craziest thing you guys have auctioned off?
There's been a lot of crazy things, from complete Harley Davidson collections to, people ask me that question. I always say a 6-foot cast iron chicken. I think we talked about that, did we?
Yep.
Yeah, we talked about the chicken.
We
so
did.
that was pretty weird. He had like 6 of them too. I don't think I got to sell the 12-footer. I think Ashley Hune, one of our other auctioneers, sold that one.
Wow.
Why would you only have one? Is probably my biggest question for that. You recently had an article in Dakota Farmer, and for those who don't subscribe, you certainly can. Dakota Farmer is a great resource for the area. And Max, your article was "How does inflation affect farmland values?" Can you give listeners a little bit of a snippet as to what you might have suggested as an answer to that question?
Yeah, so inflation really affects people that are on fixed income more than anybody, and from a land value perspective, I think inflation is caused by money creation that's going on right now. So we talk about the government and fiscal or monetary policy printing money, so that's going to drive to inflation and devalue the dollar. And those things in terms of what they do to land prices, generally speaking. If the currency is devalued and there's inflation, land values are typically going to go up, and it's a hard asset, right? So it's like gold. I always say that land is like gold with a dividend. It seems like it's a good store of wealth, and it's probably less volatile. I know it's less volatile than gold, but it's a wonderful hedge against inflation. So that's why a lot of these money folks and investors look to land as a safe haven from inflation.
You just made mention of gold, and I have heard this more often where folks are asking, can I pay for my land tax in gold? If I buy an item, whether it's through auction or anywhere else with gold, has that been posed to you at Steffes Group if buyers could use gold as their currency?
Nope. Part of our opening speech at all of our auctions, you can make payment at any time in the form of cash or a good check. So we don't take gold. Maybe on a good gold day, I might change my mind, but
no Bitcoin either.
Yeah, no Bitcoin either. But we get a lot of guys that come into the office and want to pay cash, and we'll take cash too. But for the most part nowadays, it's ACH direct deposit over the phone. It's a bank wire from name the lending institution, or it's some guy stopping in with a personal check. We take a lot of personal checks still, and we're very trusting that way.
And I think that's really paid off in your business. You have very much a relationship business. You have a well-known name in the region, and people want to do business with Steffes Group. So we appreciate that time that you have. Last item is that a young man by the name of Jace Thompson over out of Billings, Montana, just won the World Livestock Auctioneering Championships down in St. Ange, South Dakota. Have you considered putting yourself in those auctions? I believe you've mentioned Grandpa Bob was a champion.
Yeah, so I was a state North Dakota champion last year, and that I don't know if that concludes my auction contest days, but so Grandpa won the World Livestock, the one that Jace just won back in 1972, and that's the livestock version. So there's really 3 contests that are kind of the big contests. So there's a World Automobile contest, that's where all the auto guys go. There's a World Livestock, the one that you just mentioned. There's also the International, which is kind of like the best of the best, and Dad won that one in '95. And, the auction profession has changed so much over the last, not that I'm making excuses for myself, but it was hard then. But I think social media has just added a whole different element to the bid calling contests that are prevalent throughout the nation. And they're super competitive, from the bid call to the interviews to how you present yourself to those judges ascertaining how you're going to be an ambassador to the brand, whether it's a livestock ambassador, to automobile ambassador, or an international auctioneer ambassador. There's a lot that goes into it.
So much to know. And speaking of knowing, as on our live stream from Lighthouse Commodities, we're scrolling your website. Last question, or last big question, any highlight of an auction that's coming up that you want people to focus on, Max?
There's a lot of activity right now. Of course, after the 4th of July, there's a lot of families out there that maybe got with brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles about the land or the machinery that they might own. So there's a lot of people making decisions as we speak. But in terms of this week, I guess the highlight, the Max pick of the week, we'll call it, would be the Cavalier County auction tomorrow south of Walhalla. I just think that's a cooler and headquarter. It's going to be interesting to see what that brings. It's just to the south. It'd be the southwest of Walhalla. It's got some gorge land in it. It's also got some tillable, so you can pay for the hobby. And I'm really looking forward to that auction tomorrow, closing at 10 a.m., and it's live for bidding right now.
Oh, all right. I might take a look just because I want to see. All right, Max, thank you. Folks can find you at steffesgroup.com, but if they wanted to call the office direct to have a conversation, can they do that?
Absolutely, or just swing by. The coffee's always hot.
Sweet. Love to have you do that. Thanks again for joining us today, Max.
Yeah, thank you, Bridgette. Appreciate it.
All right, next up, we're going to talk with Connie Bowen, Farmhand Ventures. What might that be? Connie will tell us. Landmark Companies is your local leader in farm drainage. You are curious about getting more work done and taking care of even some of those things as much as like frost spots in the yard. Let's get some of that stuff out of the way now while it's drier, because in those wet years, you don't want to have to deal with it. We can certainly look at drainage solutions and more underground work than you can imagine. And you can do that by talking to Blake Sunday over at Landmark Teams. You can see him at landmarkteams.com. And they've got the precision drainage proven results. They're also part of our Flag of Farmer promotion. We are joined by Connie Bowen. She is with Farmhand Ventures. Farmhand Ventures. I didn't mean to say land. Hand. All right, Connie. When I announced this name, I had a number of people message me and say, so what is it? Well, I'm going to ask you, what is Farmhand Ventures?
Fair enough. Thanks for having me, Bridgette. Glad to be here to explain what the heck Farmhand Ventures is. We are an impact investment firm. We're based in St. Louis, Missouri, and we focus on basically building the future of work in agriculture. And we do that by running strategic programs and also investing in innovations that actually make work in agriculture attractive, productive, profitable, resilient, all the good stuff, right? And ultimately focusing on technology that improves the lives and livelihoods of farmers and farm workers in rural communities. So that's what we do.
So how did you get involved? Is this your baby and brainchild and you've grown it all up to where it is today?
Yeah, it sure is. It is I got involved because there have been multiple points throughout the journey wherein Farmhand Ventures is Connie Bowen. So my background, I've spent the past decade or so in ag tech venture capital. Was employee number 2, really by accident, at one of the first, arguably the first ag tech accelerator, and now one of the most active ag tech venture capital firms in the world. Left VC for a bit because I found that this was back in like 2016 through 18. There were plenty of venture capital dollars flowing towards agri-food, but I wasn't seeing really any correlation with dollars invested and on-farm adoption. My family has a farm in Kossuth County, Iowa, so had some context, but felt like I needed to get a bit more. So spent some time in farmland investment and management. And ultimately have become more and more convinced that labor is kind of the problem in ag, because when you look at technology, it's about thinking about adopting technology is a lot like thinking about adopting new practice changes, and it's impossible to think about the nice to haves when you've got really big glaring problems. So I had to start Farmhand Ventures to bring kind of a little bit more farm worker centric lens, hopefully, and a little bit more of a pragmatic investment lens to investing in agriculture technology.
As we look at your portfolio, it's easy to scroll your website, and Addison will do that for us also on our Lighthouse Commodities live stream for folks on Facebook, YouTube, and Acres TV. I see you have a portfolio: L5 Automation, Scout, New West Genetics, Nut Bio. Can you tell us a little bit about what those things are and why they're attractive to you as a group with Farmhand Ventures?
Absolutely. And I think different things bring different, we try to have a balanced portfolio, right? And obviously American agriculture is tremendously diverse. And when we're thinking about kind of the upper Midwest, some of this is more relevant to y'all than others. So Scout is a AI system for vineyard management. It's actually a company that we worked with the technical founder at UC Davis in California to really test it out and see if there was a there. If he could actually create value for vineyard managers and vineyard management companies, especially right now when the wine industry is hurting so badly. We were able to help them spin up a company that we actually just watched them. We actually just led a demo day up in Northern California, I think 2 weeks ago. And they are absolutely providing value for producers. L5 is like super deep tech complex. It's actually a 2-armed robotics company. So the founder's last company was actually a space tech company that literally lands stuff on the moon. And his name's Alex, and he has been working on a 2-armed solution for strawberry harvest. Strawberry harvest is totally manual labor, super expensive, super hard to find workers. You can really only do it till you're like 35, 40 before your back is so messed up from bending over every day. Yeah. So, I mean, that's
when talking about that, my next guest thought is I need a chiropractor, but yes, please, Connie, don't forget the rest of what you're saying.
I mean, okay, maybe we got to keep people harvesting strawberries so he has some customers. But yeah, that's a really, people have been trying to solve this problem for a while, and really our limitation has been cost and technology readiness. And as physical AI matures, I think we're getting a lot closer with that, but we're not there yet. New West Genetics is probably more relevant to folks in the upper Midwest. It's a hemp genetics company or a hemp seed company. I've invested in a couple of novel oil seed companies over the years. Covercrest, which got bought by Bayer a few years ago. Treviva, which is Danone is a big investor in. And I think it would be great if, especially when you look at corn prices right now, it would be great to have some diversification that is actually easy to grow. And I really do think hemp in this, now that it's much easier to grow from a regulatory standpoint, is a super high potential row crop. And New West has the hybridized genetics and therefore has double the yield of everyone else. Plus, they don't sell to growers unless they have an offtake, and they've got agreements underway with exciting off-takers that I can't talk too much about, but I think it provides a really good diversification stream. And then lastly, Nut Bio is a pork industry solution, so they're an alternative to surgical castration for the pork industry. So we've got a pretty wide variety, but what you'll see. Oh, go ahead.
And you're looking for very strategic solutions. You're talking about things that are happening in strawberries, the pork industry, vineyards. You're not saying that this is going to help every farmer across the board, but we can help with a solution to a very specific problem in part of the industry.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, the reality is there's variation from field to field, let alone from farm to farm, from crop to crop. And so we're really targeted and pragmatic, and we like to invest in startups who are thinking similarly because we believe in focus.
Oh, I like the idea of focus.
There's such a thing as too good to be true. There's not an ag tech solution that is magically going to make everyone in agriculture profitable and productive tomorrow. It doesn't exist. And so we're not going to throw money at nonsense.
If that solution did exist, Connie, I don't think you'd have time to talk to me. You'd be sort of busy on a lot of beaches with a lot more cash and drinks in your hand because you'd have the problems all solved.
Totally.
So when people think about technology, what succeeds on farms from technology that doesn't? And I think about all sorts of startups want to get on the farm. They want to do projects with farmers. Some of them are great. Some aren't. What's the distinction between the two? Is there any?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a bunch of distinctions. I think look, building startups is hard. Like, let's give founders the credit they deserve. It's really hard to do. And what we look for, we really focus on labor kind of. So what you see throughout our portfolio is there's like the obvious solutions. I think strawberry harvest, really obvious how that fits into labor. Scout is scouting vines within vineyards to allocate labor more efficiently. But then you look at companies like New West and Nut Bio, and New West is a scalable row crop because you can cultivate hemp using your combine, you can crush hemp using your soy crush. So you've actually got something that integrates into an operation. And so you don't need to have a tremendous level of change in any part of the system to actually enable that thing to scale. And when you look at the history of ag tech, right, you think about Roundup Ready, like it or hate it, it was a tremendously efficient adoption curve and a big money maker, right?
Yes.
And so we really think about how stuff integrates into operations and is it actually solving a pain point? And I guess the last piece is, are you designing your solution and product with your users? Because it's shocking to me, at least, what I call tech bros fixing the farm. The number of folks in cities with a bunch of funding who are just kind of like blindly designing stuff to fix your farm. And it doesn't really work when you design products without end users. So we usually co-invest alongside farmers in our portfolio.
That makes sense. It's hard to solve a problem, or excuse me, it's hard to bring a solution forward for a problem that doesn't exist. And Connie, it sounds like to me, you would be interested in hearing from farmers who want to know more, investors who want to know more, and you want to continue to work on strong solutions with the startups and the founders.
Yeah, exactly. And look, ag tech is not an overfunded space. We're a very early investor and a very small fund. So we are super collaborative, whether that's as co investors, whether that's investing with us in our fund, whether that's just support, just introducing us to folks who are building stuff that you want and you know they need some funding to get the thing ready for you. Um, where we are really pride ourselves, I think, on being collaborative. And honestly, that's one of the best things about ag tech. It's like we're not a sharp elbowed bunch.
Our conversation today has been outstanding with Connie Bowen. She is a general partner with Farmhand Ventures. Connie, for those who are listening and are curious about more, where should they go?
They can go right to our website, so farmhandventures.com. We've got a contact form there. It's an info at email. It goes right to my inbox actually, so I will answer there. And yeah, we like I said, we've got a really strict open door policy, especially for founders, but farmers too. Just reach out.
Thank you so much. And I look forward to hearing more about the startups that you have, some of those that are listed on your website. I mean, if there's ever a time to tout the good news, always be sure to loop me in. I'm happy to share those types of things with listeners as we go down the road together. So thanks again, Connie.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bridgette.
All right, when we come back, we're going to have a recap of this hot weather. Could we go down in the record books before all this is said and done in terms of this heat wave? We'll have more on that and our next chance of rain coming up right after the break. And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. 1:53 in the afternoon. Temperatures outside 90 degrees. A little cooler in the Northern Valley. Some 80s as a front has pushed into the Northern Valley, but it's expected to stall to the north, so we should make it into the 90s. The record today is 99. Don't think we're going to quite get there, but we'll be flirting with it a little bit. And we were talking about the longest stretch, Bridgette, of 90-plus days in a row here in Fargo is 15. That was set back in the Dust Bowl years of 36. So obviously that's been a while. But second place is 9 consecutive days. Kind of hard to believe. You'd think it'd be a little more than that. But again, these long streaks are hard to come by here in the Northern Plains. And if we continue this streak through the weekend, which is a possibility, there's a couple of hiccups that might occur tomorrow with that front to the north. Does it sag far enough south where we're in the upper 80s? I don't think so. It should stay to the north, keeping us in the 90s. And then as we head into the weekend, the question is, do we stay in the 90s or do we have a front that moves in from the north? And I think right now it looks like we'll stay in the 90s. So if we keep this stretch through the weekend, and why not? We might as well go down in the record books. That would put us in second place for the longest consecutive stretch of 90-degree weather. So pretty incredible stuff for this time of the year. Nothing record-breaking, again, in terms of record high temperatures, but we are looking, again, at 90s continuing throughout the rest of this week. Mid to upper 90s today across the FM area, a little cooler north with, again, that extreme heat warning still in effect for the FM area. Tonight down into the upper 60s, and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It looks like we're in the 90s, and it looks like that may extend into the weekend. I don't see cooler weather coming in here until Tuesday or Wednesday of next week as temperatures slide back off into the low 80s. And this weather is brought to you by Hot Tub and Sauna Store. And if you've never experienced a wonderful, wonderful hot tub, I'll tell you what, go check out the Hot Tubs and Sauna Store just outside of Costco. Sink into a brand new Caldera spa. I just got mine installed. Can't wait to use that this week. Their hot tubs built for pure comfort, super efficient energy use, and easy saltwater maintenance. It's super simple. Just imagine coming home to that perfect soak every night. And for serious health benefits, step into a Findleo sauna so you can train, detox, and truly relax right at home. The Hot Tub and Sauna Store, living the life you love, right next to Costco in West Fargo. And, you know, some might say, that's a little too hot to get in a hot tub tonight. Hey, once that sun goes down, you go outside and just take a nice, relaxing soak, listen to some good music, and that'll kind of relax you right before you go to bed.
It doesn't need to be on. You can just fill it with ice cubes.
Well, if you want a cold
Then
soak.
you can adjust your temperature.
In this
and
weather,
you can adjust
yeah.
your temperature, yes.
Yeah. This is hot out. Tepid showers seem best these days, you guys.
Right?
Just saying. A couple quick little news briefs. National Cattlemen's Beef Association has submitted public comments on a proposed rule by the Federal Aviation Administration. The designation restrict the operation of unmanned aircraft in close proximity to a fixed site facility. That's the name of it, of the proposed legislation. The comments have highlighted the importance of providing the beef industry sites with upholding a standard unmanned aircraft flight restriction to protect security and privacy. What they're trying to do is saying that you can't just randomly be flying your drone over people's ranches, cattle, pastures, etc. We know that there are instances where livestock animal activists are indeed trying to use that in nefarious manners. They're trying to get video, scare animals, want them to break down fences, chase them out of where they're supposed to be, and so much more. And so the NCBA is saying to the FAA, don't allow this to happen. We don't want disruptions with what's going on with cattle. We don't want them injured. We don't want this to interrupt our production and our supply chain as well. You heard me mention Project SafeSend in the state of North Dakota earlier in the show, but Minnesota Department of Agriculture has also their free waste pesticide collection event for Clay County on July 16th. That is Thursday, and that will be at CHS Ag Services in Ulen, Minnesota. Shorter time frame, only from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. So make sure if you have things you want taken in at that site that you talk with Minnesota Department of Ag as well. And then, for all you gardeners out there, we're trying hard to keep it alive. There is a British gardener who has world records. Most recently, a head of garlic that weighed 3 pounds. The whole head of garlic. It was
Ouch.
huge. Elephant garlic. Larger variety than typical bulb garlic, which I've grown elephant garlic before, and it is. This was 3 pounds, 13.7 ounces. It had a 7.5-inch diameter. That's a lot of garlic.
Wow. That's good. That's good for the hamburgers, though, right?
It's even better on a steak or
Oh, there
a
you
variety
go.
of other dishes.
There you go. Well, that'll do it for our edition of Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us. Don't go anywhere. The Jay Thomas Show. It's coming up next.